thing.
You
Ooh, hello. Jack and
Good day.
Van,
finally,
Dagon, Kel, hello. We're back.
we're
Cool.
back, baby.
So, after some technical difficulties, we managed. Yes. Fuck yeah. All right.
He's got technical
Um.
difficulties.
Yeah. Super. So the idea we have today is we didn't do Game of the Year pods before. So what we're going to do is share 3 games that we played over the last 2-3 years, so 2022, 2023, 2024, that we really enjoyed and that we actually, recommend for us to play. Hopefully this will go smooth. And yeah, so who know? We decided before. I'll go first.
Good man.
And
That's the spirit.
so the game I would like to talk about, um, just for relevance, these are not games that came out these last years. It could be any game that we played over the last 3 years. So
Oh, really? Well, I
yeah,
got the
sure.
assignment wrong then.
Okay, no worries, man. Then we know for you it's games from the last 2 years. That's fantastic,
Yeah.
though.
Okay.
Um, so the game that I would like to share, let's hope that this works. First is uh, Bioshock Remastered, and I played this game a few years ago, and what I really liked about it is that it's just such a good game. First of all, the storytelling is fantastic. I think that it's a game that I'm not going to say it's a Metroidvania, but it is a little bit, and I do like my Metroidvanias. It's a role playing game.
There's some interconnectivity between the areas of the world, right? The world map.
Yeah, exactly. You have to go back and forth
Not
to
only
unlock.
story-wise, but also organically in terms of level design and that. Sure,
Exactly.
yeah.
So level design wise, it's a bit of a Metroidvania. It's also an RPG, meaning you unlock skill trees and you have a little bit of a skill tree. You can unlock powers and stuff, and it's also a first-person shooter. One could think that the game hasn't aged that well, but the remastered version I think aged really nice. Yeah, the shooting can feel a bit off or clunky, but when you use the powers as well, I really enjoyed playing this game, especially because it's a very solitary experience. I'm not going to say it's horror, but it's definitely thriller and suspense.
Mhm.
And the story is fantastic. The world building is fantastic. The music is fantastic. And of course, there's a spoiler alert, but it's an old game already. Not the remastered, but it's an older game. Um, the plot twist is really cool. Although after the plot twist, the game still keeps going for a little bit until the final boss that I find a bit negligible. But it really is a fun game to play, and you have so much freedom as to how you choose to play this game, right?
Is it sort of like Dishonored, the way you go through the levels is in you can choose to be stealthy, you can choose to have a certain type of, you know, gameplay
Yeah.
mechanic? Or is that what you mean by you can sort of navigate how you want?
The way I mean that you can navigate how you want. What you have to do is kind of linear, to be honest. There's some side stuff that you can explore to get new abilities here and there and unlock secrets and things like that. But it's you got the right word there. It's like how are you going to do it? The
Okay.
stealth part is not so much there. It's more which powers are you going to use, right? You can be stealthy and you can go guns blazing if you want. Some people like to use the powers a bit more. Some people like to use the guns a little bit more. There's some exploration, start investigation. Some people go a bit more into hacking, for example. As you can see on the video, they're using turrets and stuff. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so the city is it's like an underwater city that you have to get into and explore to find out what's going on and what happened to you. It's very much a solo protagonist dropped into a weird situation trying to figure it out.
Mhm.
It has a lot of survival elements. I will compare it to, and Loplo, you can actually back me on this a little bit. Sometimes it's a bit like Alien Isolation, in the sense that you do feel isolated, and you're
Sure.
going through a closed doors, confined spaces, one after the other, to
Mhm.
try to get to the next spot. But here you have to find out
Distorted,
what
like
happened to you.
dystopian industrial places, right? Suspense,
Yeah, with
tinkling horror, sci-fi
yeah, with
about.
crazy enemies going on,
Mhm.
like steampunky atom sci-fi. So yeah,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
that's I really recommend this game for anyone who wants a solo playthrough that is not too long. I think I finished the game in like 15, 20 hours, and has a lot of really cool elements to it. You have the, because of, I mentioned the Alien Isolation thing, because you have, for example, the big daddies that come after you as you're
Mhm,
playing the game. They're
mhm.
basically these creatures that are wearing a giant suit, that are very difficult to kill and that you do want to escape. And as you go through the game, you listen to recordings, so you find out what happens through the recordings in the game, through reading documents here and there. And yeah, it's a really, really good time. It's single player, sure, but it's really, really cool. Yeah. So
Mhm.
that's a game that Papu recommends. Double thumbs up. I ate this up, and I think I'm going to play the second one remastered later this year.
And
So yeah,
Very nice.
all
Very
right.
nice. Very nice.
So one of you, off you go. Recommend us a game
Tataru?
to play.
Sure. Yeah, I can go. I can go next. Second, I gotta stop watching the stream for a second there. All right. Well, since I mean, there's a lot of games in the last 3 years that I've played that weren't necessarily from those years, but like I said, I was, I misunderstood the assignment, so I looked up,
Mm-hmm.
thinking what were maybe the three that marked me most in the last 3 years. Obviously, I'm going the indie route because
Mm-hmm.
that's what I play the most. And so for basically for 2022, although the game came out in 2021, I chose Inscription. Now, um,
Ooh. Okay.
for whoever hasn't played this game, so Inscription is a roguelike deck building game, at essence, developed by Daniel Mullins and published by
Mm-hmm.
Devolver Digital. I love Devolver Digital published games. Generally, they're super fun, super addictive, and they're very, well, they're indie short games. Now, this game came as an utter surprise because I do really like deck building games in general, like Slay the Spire and
Mm-hmm.
other types of this genre, and roguelites, obviously. Now, the great thing about this game is the tonality of it, the way it looks,
Mm-hmm.
the visuals are so enticing. The world building is also great, and you are basically put in a cabin. This is how you start. You put in a cabin, and you discover that you are made to play a tabletop game,
Mm-hmm.
sort of like you would. Um, yeah, like, oh, I think we've lost
Lolo.
Lawrence.
He'll
I
be
think he's
back.
back. He'll be back. Um, and basically, what happens is that you're thrust into this world where you're held hostage without knowing what the hell's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You start picking up cards, and the cards, some of them start talking to you, and you start uncovering a mystery that develops as you go along. Now, the great thing about this game is it goes way beyond what you'd expect because you're introduced to this segment that we're seeing now on the video, basically, where you're playing against the let's call it the dungeon master, if you will.
Yeah.
And once you're done with this area, which also has a part, so you got the deck building part and you got a puzzle sort of investigation part where you get up from the table and you move around and you figure out different things. Then, after you've basically defeated that part of the game, it takes you to a whole other schematic where it's still deck building, but the world entirely changes, the visuals entirely change. the way you play change. What you're seeing now on screen is the protagonist of the game that also has a story of how he found the game, Inscription, how he got lost inside the game,
Right.
and this game is just a phenomenal time. And as you start unfolding more and more of it, you start understanding what's going on. And it's divided into three different parts. Um, yeah, I just absolutely love this game. I also ate it up like crazy. Um, it's a relatively short game. I would say it's maybe about, mm, I mean, 10-hour game max. I don't think it's
Okay.
more than that.
Did you finish it?
And yeah, absolutely. Like it's a game that I go back to because it's sort of a comfort game and it's really, really fun. Especially, I really like the first part of the game and the last part. The middle part, not so much my thing,
It's very
but
punishing, isn't it?
it's a very punishing game. But at the same time, it just really keeps you hooked, and the development of the story is just it's phenomenal. It's just a great all around indie game, and the fact that it's a deck building roguelite game, like within the genre, it's really revolutionary. I would say thus far in the last, it came out in 2021, and since then, for the genre, this is the top. This is the cherry of all of it. It's fucking fantastic. I could not recommend this game more. Like it's absolutely phenomenal, even for people that don't play this type of game, dude. 100%, just go for it. So yeah,
Okay.
that's my first recommend.
Let
And
me
yeah,
ask
that's
you a
it.
couple of things.
Yeah, sure.
Let's assume you said that it's not exactly the type of game that you would go for necessarily. I mean, there's roguelite elements that you really like, which are a
Sure.
plus for you. But to what kind of people would you recommend this game if they don't usually play this type of games?
No, this is what I mean. Like, I do play these kind of games, like deck building, roguelike games. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that for someone who doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
for the genre to get into the genre, this is la creme de la creme. This is what you want to go for. This is going to get you into it because not just the gameplay mechanic, which is not necessarily something that gamers are used to, especially AAA gamers,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. But story wise, it's just so compelling. Like it will capture you, especially if you're into mystery, sort of thriller vibe, supernatural, sort of isekai thing. You're stuck inside a world, a digital. It's got a lot to it. It's just really well made. So yeah, recommend for anyone that wants to get into the genre. Of course, for me, you talk about deck building. I always say Slay the Spire is fantastic as well for as a deck building game, 100%. But this one is just got so much more to it, a
Mm-hmm.
lot more substance. That's why I would recommend this. Yeah.
Cool. It's awesome.
Yeah. Of course it is. It's gorgeous.
And for those
Yeah.
who are wondering, on Jack and Papu on YouTube, we do have a couple of streams if you're more interested in watching Jack go through like an hour of gameplay through
True that.
Inscription. Yeah, so you can
We
go check
do?
that out.
Shit, I
Yeah, we
should have
do. Yeah,
I
yeah,
should
it's
have
been a
I
while.
should have used the footage from that. I
It's
forgot
okay,
that we
man.
had that.
It's okay because
Fuck me.
I got to see
You
different
did
things
one
here
or two
actually.
episodes, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
from the streams that we did, I didn't see these the footage of
Yeah.
The footage
uh
part, yeah,
of the
Yeah, because
story.
that's
because
the
that's
Yeah.
thing.
later on in the game.
If I did do a stream of it, which I guess I did, I never got further than the first part in the
Hmm.
streams.
Right.
So, and the first part on its own takes a while to get through. And
Mm-hmm.
once you
Right.
do, it just switches you up completely. And it's like you have to relearn how to deck build and start again.
I
Same
see.
Mhm.
thing for the third part. So it keeps you just evolving with the game as you go along, and that's what's
Mhm.
really fantastic about it. It's like a three-parter, a three game in one, even though the essence of it is all the same through the different parts. It varies enough that you feel challenged and renewed at every segment, so it's really worth it. Yeah.
Cool. Lolo, what you got for us?
Yeah, sorry for the technical issues. I don't
It's
know if
okay.
it's because of sharing too many screens
Here we go
on
with
the Discord.
screens.
My internet goes bye-bye. I guess start with Persona 5.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so Persona 5 Royal, one of the best JRPGs I've played for sure. I spent like, 120 hours in this game on my first playthrough, close to that. And Persona 5 Royal is like um, the upgraded version, because Atlas has like these habit of always selling an upgraded version 2 or 3 years down the line, like Persona 4 Golden or Persona 5 Royal. Lately with Shin Megami Tensei as well. I don't know if you guys seen that new Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance.
No, I haven't seen.
No. But yeah, what is Persona 5? In a way, I could distill it Inception, but high school anime with like mythological, like
Mm-hmm.
monster capture, turn-based RPG, and social mechanics. That's pretty much it. There's some dungeon crawling with some chapters that go very out there. Here, for example, in this fight, you can send one of your companions to sneak around the fight and then 2 turns after cut the cables that are on top of the grail. In the meanwhile, I use the three other party members for tanking, doing damage, increasing defense, and all that. It becomes very strategic. Your companions will have like a determined like uh, capabilities or specialities, but your main protagonist can actually choose their persona. So you start off with weak personas from low mythological creatures like, I don't know, Cyclops or Sphinxes and whatnot. And later in the game, you have like Odin, Thor, and Anubis and Lady Mary of Jesus type of
Nice.
personas from all across all mythologies, which is really neat. And yeah, it's very like Pokemon in the sense that it's a puzzle type of uh, logic in terms of turn-based combat, right? There's like the elements,
Mm-hmm.
and they have like they react dynamically to each other, like weaknesses or resistances, status effects, debuffs. But outside combat, it's mostly like a sim game. It has like a calendar type of events where the story moves through chapters,
You have to do
getting to
homework and
learn.
stuff, right?
Yeah. You can wash your clothes. You can buy coffee to study late at night, and you increase all like these social or like individual aptitudes.
Mm-hmm.
What was it again? Like charisma, endurance, intellect, and I don't know. Like I don't remember the name of the five. But these are useful because they will enable you to maybe trigger side quests and main quests that will be locked if you don't increase
Right.
those aptitudes, right? And you study for tests in the school. So it really like blends this like simulator aspect, but also like RPG fantasy aspect, where basically these high school kids go into these astral projection dimensions of our universe that just
Mm-hmm.
enhance like the worst part of humanity, and it's basically the new generation trying to fight the disillusioned older generation, right? Because there's maybe a teacher that harasses students in high school, or there's a banker that has the family of one cast member like with debts and loans like locked, or there's a corrupt prime minister, blah 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 blah. And that's why I said Inception in the beginning, because the dungeons of the main chapters is you going into the subconscious of these villains from each chapter, and thematically
Can I
go
ask
through the
something?
whole shebang. Yeah,
Do the are the chapters separate, or do they like kind of build up towards a bigger grand finale
yeah,
where
they build
everything
up
comes
pretty
together?
much. What happens more often than not is that 1 month, like there's like a deadline, like we need to change the heart of this antagonist by the 28th of September or whatever.
Right.
And meanwhile, you decide how you spend your time. Like you go to classes, you spend time with your friends, you do other activities, increase your aptitudes that can also reflect then in combat, as well as in the world map as well. Yeah,
Cool.
and at the end, it's builds up like very epic, as a good anime JRPG does. The power of friendship defeating
The power of
uh,
friendship.
godlike powers, and it's where everything you have learned along the way, finally everything comes together. Like, right, it's a great feeling. It's pretty much the only comparison I can make is if you've never played a JRPG, but you are familiar with RPGs, maybe in the likes of Dragon Age or Mass Effect or Baldur's
Right.
Gate, where you get really attached to your teammates and it weaves into the story, and that enhances the gameplay as well because it adds meaning to the gameplay. And so on. Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, every time I watch this, I mean, the last one that I played of this genre was probably
From Atlas.
Tokyo Mirage Sessions is the last thing I played.
Yeah, pretty much the same flavor and the same like mindset of design. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very similar.
I want to ask you something. Some
Yeah, for
games,
sure.
the story is like so powerful, and that you keep playing the game because you want to find out more about the story, and it almost replaces whatever anime or TV series that you might be watching at the time, or that you could be watching or would want to watch. Did you get that feeling while you were playing Persona?
I don't know if I understand your question.
Meaning that you're not watching TV series at the same time, or not following anything, and this is like the main story and all of the spectrum of entertainment that you are watching at the moment or following at the moment, that you literally decide to play Persona instead of watching an anime, for example.
Okay, I guess I see what you mean. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because the game is so long that every time you go back to the game, it feels like you're catching up on a series for sure, like type of thing uh, with the narrative. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I
And
really like the
it's kind of.
animation.
Yeah, the animation.
Oh
is
yeah,
fantastic.
the production for their actually animated stuff is pretty neat. Yeah.
Is it one of those when you compile all of the cutscenes together, you have enough hours for a 10-episode long series?
I'm not entirely sure. I think for Persona 5 Royal, I'm not sure how many hours the cutscenes would be in total, but not more than 2 hours, I think.
Okay. That's still quite,
Maybe an hour and a half or an
Yeah,
hour.
it's an OVA, bro.
Yeah, that's substantial.
Most
Yeah.
of the stuff is delivered through like scene setting and dialogue, and there's a lot of like they are very stylized in what they do with the menus and like the portrait expressions and stuff like that. Saturday after school, you are fighting a giant. I fucking love this game.
Okay.
But yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, like this, for example. This is what it looks like most of the time.
Very nice.
The text box is like very like comic book or manga-ish driven.
It's like,
very
Ace Attorney.
presentation.
No, Judge.
Yeah.
No.
For sure.
Oh, nice. Cool.
All right.
Yeah, so that's it for Persona. Yes.
If this game wasn't so long, I would love to. But
yeah.
I just can't do AAA games. Just can't.
I
Holy
feel that.
shit. Holy shit. Man. All right.
Cool. So, moving on. I'm
Mhm.
going to change gears a little bit
Mhm.
on that one, and I'm going to talk about a game that I really enjoyed playing. So this is one of those games that is, very much um, gameplay uh, oriented for me, and that's Hunt Down. So bear with me.
Nice.
It's a side scroller shoot 'em up, and you guys know how I like this genre a lot.
Yeah.
I
You're
think it's
talking
from
like Contra style?
yeah, like
Yeah,
Contra. I think
totally
it's
right.
from playing arcades when I was a kid,
Sure.
and also the style and the presentation is very late '80s, early '90s action
Oh,
movie.
yeah. Yeah, this
Um,
is definitely like the Warriors vibe.
yeah, like the Warriors, like those Kurt Russell, Stallone, Time
Sure.
Cop, Van Damme, Schwarzenegger movies. Um, and I play this actually. We're watching someone play solo, but you can play it co-op for sure. I finished it both solo and in co-op, and it's a lot of fun multiplayer. I bought it cheap on Steam, and what I really enjoyed about this game is it's just so much fun, and it's fun and it's funny, and there's explosions and guns, and you jump
All
and
right,
you
Michael
shoot.
Bay, take it easy.
Yeah, no, this is way better than Michael Bay shit, in my opinion.
It's fun on a
And
bun.
yeah, it is fun on a bond, man, and it's quite short. I mean, all in all, it can be challenging sometimes. Um, I really like what I like about this game is that you use the cover systems a lot, both by ducking and by sneaking into doors and stuff.
Mhm.
And there's many types of weapons to use. Hi, Pacha. We have someone saying hi on the stream. And so yeah, I really enjoyed this game. Visually, it's very. I mean, you guys can see. I always confuse. This is 16-bit, right?
Mhm.
This is definitely 16. This
It
is
is
definitely not
16-bit.
8-bit, bro.
It's not 8-bit. It's 16-bit. Cool. So
This is already like pushing the 16-bit to more than
Yeah, right.
16-bit,
Yeah.
bro.
yeah,
It's
it is.
definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm bad telling 16 and 32-bit apart. Um, 2D. Um, but yeah, as you can see from the scenery, it's I don't know. It's a vibes game. I really like when
Mhm.
I'm playing a game and there's a specific vibe to it,
Mhm.
Sure.
and it's a game that you can. Do you guys sometimes ever buy a game that you know you can pick up and drop anytime you want because the gameplay increments can be quite short, and then
Sure.
you find yourself playing it for hours? And
Absolutely.
this is one of those games. It's the level design is pretty simple. You go side to side, up and down, and then sometimes more down, sometimes more up. It kind of reminds me of the original Duke Nukem that you would play in 2D. It's the old. I grew up playing DOS games, all right, on PC before I had a console. So this very much has that vibe, and it plays wonderfully, super wonderfully with a controller. Or if you want to, you can also play it old school, with the arrows and with the control and shift and alt buttons to jump and do all that stuff. And it's a very straightforward game, and I highly recommend this to anybody. If you can find it for cheap, of course, there's lots of games in this genre that kind of play like this or kind of look like this, but this one does the mishmash of everything together. Just mwah, chef's kiss for me.
Mhm.
For me, this really
And
is a 5-star game because it ticks all the boxes, and when you
Mhm.
play it, it's fun. Um, yeah, and the
and
dialogue is pretty funny too. It's very cheesy and reminiscent of that those things that I told you that inspired the game.
Mhm.
And the sound effects are
mm,
great too. So sound design, art design, level design. It could be that it's nothing special, but the way they put everything together is special to me. Yeah.
and one question for you, like,
Yep.
Is there actual story? Is like your girlfriend the typical story, or what? Is
Yeah,
there a story at
yeah,
all?
yeah. The story is pretty much you have to go through these different gangs throughout the town, right, and defeat these different gangs up until you reach the main guy at the end.
Like Escape from New York.
Exactly. Yeah, it's stuff
That
like
type of
that.
vibe.
It's completely that
Nice.
type of vibe. Completely that type of vibe. And each character has different abilities, like a different side ability that they can use. But overall, you're pretty much set with any of the characters.
It does look like an 80s, 90s fever dream what a
Yeah.
kid would wish
Yeah.
for a
Fuck
video
yeah,
game at
bro.
Christmas.
That's the point. That's the point. All right. Makes me feel like a kid again in a good way.
Yeah. All
So,
right.
Hunt Down. Check it out. It's great.
All right.
Beautiful.
I can jump next. Let me just open the door to my cat. Give me a second.
Wow.
Karim, are you there? No. I was hearing a meow, but she doesn't. All right. So yeah, thank you, Bapu, for this description of the game. I don't know. I don't remember hearing you this game much
I
at
told you
all.
about it, but it was during a time where I
Yeah.
wasn't streaming much and more playing on my own.
Ah,
So
well,
that's probably
but that's
why.
good.
Yeah.
Like you get to focus more on the game.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, this is just for my own personal fun. Basically.
exactly.
All right. So then let me say my next one. So the next one, again, since I am going chronologically speaking, 2022 was Inscription for me, and 2023 was basically Sea of Stars.
Ah, yes.
Now,
Yes.
now,
Yes.
now, my
Yes.
peeps, my peeps.
Yes.
Listen, I
Cyber
mean,
Hangout. Yes.
dude, Sea of Stars. What to say? I mean, look, this game. This game that was released by Sabotage Studios, which was the studios that developed a game that I played so many times and was fascinated with, which was The Messenger that
5-star
Afonso
game.
also played.
5-star game.
5-star game. We've played it on stream. We've reviewed it. And the greatest thing about Sea of Stars, well, not the greatest thing, but one of the great things about it is that it's set in the same universe and it crosses over with the Messenger a lot. As in, there's a lot of things that you can see that are connected. You discover more about the past of what's going on in the Messenger through here. There's just so much to it. But for that, we would have to get into different things. Now, unlike the Messenger, this game is a completely different genre of game. This is very old school styled RPG in the style of Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana. It's a tribute to those games, and it's done incredibly well. It's just fucking fantastic. It's from beginning to end a great puzzle solving, turn based adventure. I mean, I must say, I played it last year. I'm not going to say I remember everything because it's been a while, but I do remember when I was playing it. I couldn't let go of the game. I was just so mesmerized by first the visuals, as you can see. I mean, it's literally taken from, again, 16-bit, 32-bit era RPG games. The characters are very well developed. They're very funny. There's a lot of side quests going on. There's a lot of discovery within the side quests to understand what's going on in the world, to like justify what's happening, and
Mini games.
basically mini games. Yes, they're like, obviously it's not a card game, but let's say it's like Gwent, other types of games like that that you would play in a bar that you can have fun with. But yeah, like basically the plot is you got these two main characters, which were what was their names? Valere and Zale, I believe, which are
And
these two main
Sam.
characters. These and Sam. Is Sam the fat kid?
Yeah, I don't know if he's called Sam, but he's Sam. He's the
Okay,
bravest.
he's Sam. Yeah, he's Sam. Yeah, he's the cool dude, super cool friend guy. But anyway, so you got these two kids who are basically born in a village where there's ritual births of specific people who are born to become solstice warriors, and they are the last ones that are born. And in the game, basically, what happens is that there's massive issues going on because they decide to like betray the whole thing and take power of the solstice for themselves, and then it's a big adventure to like uncover the power, reclaim the power, and set balance to Earth, if you will. I mean, the usual JRPG type thing. It's nothing that's new in terms of like the plot adventure, but there's a lot of traveling. There's a lot of different worlds. The combat system is delightful, albeit it can become a bit repetitive at certain points. I didn't mind that it was repetitive because I enjoyed it so much that I just got better and better at it, and it
Right.
just becomes a joy when you're able to like do everything as fluent as you want it to be, and you can actually manage to do things well. Like you can time your combos, you can time things well, you know exactly how the enemies work. Like it's great. It's a great game. I absolutely loved every moment of it, and I love the soundtrack also combines with the soundtrack from the Messenger and different areas. um I was waiting for this game for about 2 years or 3 years. I participated in the Kickstarter for it because as soon as I saw that the guy from Sabotage Studios, which is Eric something, I don't remember his name, French guy, was developing this game, and I saw that it was an RPG like classic, I was like, oh, dude, take my money,
I
take my
trust this
money.
man.
I trust you with my life, and did not disappoint. They have added the possibility of playing local co-op on it now, so you do have an added thing to it. Just like in Secret of Mana, you could actually play local co-op, which is something I
Nice.
love. I don't know how it works for the turn-based combat. I'm not sure because I haven't tried it, but I'm sure it adds a lot to it because this game is just super fun to play with someone. Like we did cyber hangouts playing this game, um, and yeah, I just highly recommend. Their DLC has just come out or is coming out very soon. I know that Afonso has been playing this game for a while. I don't think he's finished it yet.
No.
No, that's okay. The thing is, another thing that's the only thing that for me was an encumbrance in the game is that to have the true ending of the game, you need to fulfill a certain criteria that are very, very, very annoying.
Fuck those
Yeah,
rainbow
And
shells, bro.
yeah, the collecting rainbow shells after doing the whole game, and it's
Is
not.
it possible to collect those rainbow shells by being close to the end game, or will you miss out on some
It's
rainbow shells?
possible. It's possible, but it's just gonna be a lot easier to do it post game.
It's a job.
Like
Post game, yeah.
the because the thing is also is when you acquire a certain item that allows you to see where they are, but it doesn't tell you the specific location. It tells you like, oh, you're missing one in this island, you're missing one in this island, and then you're like, great, but where the fuck? I can't find it. And there's just so many of them. And for you to get the true ending, I didn't even get it because I at some point I was like, dude, I got other things to do. I got other games to play. I really want to get back to it and do it. But every time I try to, I just got unmotivated. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
it's just gonna take some time.
By how
And
unfortunately tedious the getting all the shells is.
yeah, and
It's a bit of a slog.
that is the only complaint I have about the game because I really wanted to get the true, which I still haven't. And for me, I'm not going to play a DLC of a game if I haven't gotten the real ending of it,
Right.
obviously. So there's still that hanging over my head. But I
I
will
had the
pick it
same
up at some
problem with
point.
Dragon Quest XI.
Oh, dude, this
Shit
is a
became
lot
expensive.
less hours than. I mean, a lot less. I would say I spent. I was going sort of a completionist route as well, but I think 30 to 40 hours is how much I've played this.
But from your experience, this is a good spiritual successor of like Secret of Mana and
It's
Chrono
a
Trigger.
fantastic. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's its own thing. Like
It's its own
definitely.
thing, but you do
Because
feel the callback.
I do think it's a great tribute to the genre.
A great tribute. Okay.
Spiritual
It's not the
successor,
greatest game
no.
in the world. It's
Interesting.
a
Make
tribute.
that distinction. Not necessarily. Okay. Yeah.
Like also because I mean, I played more Secret of Mana than I did reasons that are the reasons that they didn't get released in Europe, so I never got to play it until much later in life. So my big connection to these games is Secret of Mana, Secret of Evermore, and some others like that. And those are more action oriented. They're not turn based. This is turn based.
That's one stream one of us should maybe think of making. Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger. I mean, I have it on Steam. Like,
Ooh.
but that's another endeavor. That's a long ass game.
That's
you know?
another.
I'm sure somebody can do it fast, but I'm not familiar enough with the game. Even Secret of Mana, that I finished 2 or 3 times as a kid, I would be daunted to try to finish it fast because it's like there's a lot of things that you forget, especially if it's games you haven't played in like fucking ever. But all this to say,
is a good recommend. Yeah.
This is for me. This was on the definitely top 2023 games I played. Like came out instantly hooked. Like fantastic.
If I may, I have just one teeny tiny bone to pick with this game,
Which is?
and that's maybe it's my fault because I haven't finished it. I think I'm maybe 2/3 in, and it for me personally, pleonasm, emphasis on pleonasm for me personally, and that's the story, in the sense that if you're someone who is a bit busy sometimes doing other things outside of gaming, and you don't have the time or the energy sometimes, the story was a bit underwhelming. Like I was expecting a little bit more from the story.
That's what I said. Like the story has nothing new to offer. It's
Yeah, exactly. It has nothing new to offer. It's not bad.
RPG.
Yeah, it's not bad, but it's just it's another classic fantasy RPG story.
Yeah.
And when I'm saying it's not bad, I mean it's a solid 7, 8 out of 10. You know.
The thing is, you have to look at this story in a way that you have, and you have to connect it to the story of the messenger, so you can see as the root of what's happening in the messenger how things became, and you do have a character in this game which is a storyteller that every time you uncover a certain item, she reads that item's story and gives you a lot of lore. Thing is, obviously, you have to be into that, and neither you nor me are super the lore reading type of people. Not necessarily. I was much more here because I was interested in the connection between the games a lot. But it's true that from the simple perspective of plot wise, it's nothing new. It is what it is. It's right there. Don't expect something like, oh my god, I've never seen such a story. And no, it's like
but
I
it's
said,
nice and cute
shit's
though.
off balance.
It's good.
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic.
Solid.
But yeah.
Good recommendation, bro. I agree 100%. Lolo, show us what you got.
Me.
What you got?
I guess my next one is Dark Souls 3.
Woo!
Surprisingly,
it's minimized.
Oh, it went back a little bit. It was buffering. Okay. Yeah, recently I've gone back to it and I played 2 New Game Plus playthroughs up to New Game Plus 3. And this is again my first finished like beginning of 2023, I think, like in January.
Mhm. Oh, I
And
can't see your thing. Sorry, mate. I can't see
you
the.
can't?
No,
I can see it.
you can see it. Okay, then I'll just leave it on
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, I had played the first one. I had played Bloodborne. I had played Sekiro.
Mm-hmm.
And then my next on the bucket list was Dark Souls 3. And for me, it was an amazing experience, so much so that a year and a half after finishing the game, I decided to replay the game twice again.
Can I ask you what platform
Uh,
did you play it on?
PS4.
PS4. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Correct. And yeah, it's pretty much stats-based game, strength, dexterity, intelligence, kind of infamous for being steep learning curve and obscure mechanics and functions. But I really love the setting of Dark Souls 3 is one of my favorite settings of the era of gods kind of dying, and it uses the sacrifice of human beings to keep lingering past its
Mm-hmm.
life expectancy. That's the whole symbology of linking the fire. The first ending in Dark Souls 1 and all subsequent Dark Souls is that your champion uses their body to become ash and link the fire, and therefore allow the reign of the old gods to keep on going. But then you have all these different endings that you can also do if you do like side quests um, and so on. But yeah, and is also the scope of the adventure, like how magnanimous and like almost of biblical proportions everything like feels that you are doing. Um, very dark fantasy oriented, always like Berserk. The comparisons have been made many times.
To Berserk, the
And
anime.
yeah,
Okay.
and the manga. Because there's some crossover, like the authors like actually were fans of each other's work and reference each other, from what I understand. But yeah, my build initially on this game, I went like very basic, a build called what the fuck is the build called again? It's like strength and dexterity, and it's very useful because like that you can just sort out like the various gear you will find in the game and
Mm-hmm.
just decide what best suits for you. And in this game, you can actually respec your stats a total up to 5 times, I believe. So you can always respec to something new you want to try. And I went for faith and intelligence for a pyromancer. But I leveled up so much with the new game pluses, reached like level 135 or
How many
something.
game pluses?
New game plus 3 was my last. And so I was a pretty like well-rounded pyromancer, sorcery, miracle caster with some fusion on my melee weapons with dark elemental damage and fire elemental damage, or chaos elemental damage rather, not fire, because there's all these buffs and build-ups that increase with certain gear and items and magics depending on your stats, right? Yeah. And I recommend this game because compared to Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 1 I think is still my favorite because it is really Metroidvania. Dark Souls 3 is not real Metroidvania; it's a bit more railroaded, in my opinion. But it is nonetheless very streamlined, right? For someone who would be coming from, say, Elden Ring, I think they would have an easier time with Dark Souls 3 than with Dark Souls 1 for sure. Because in Dark Souls 1, if you're drinking a potion, your character does not walk. you're
Right, I
fixed.
forgot about that.
It's that clunky. Yeah.
Hmm.
So and also the weapon focus, like didn't exist in Dark Souls 1. Here, if you don't use mana or spells, you can use the blue spirit bar for weapon attack, for example, right? So all resources are still usable that way, depending on your build as well. So it's much more versatile in terms of expression, I'd say.
By the way, you recommend this game? Who are you recommending? Title people?
I would recommend this game to people who would have played, for example, Elden Ring and are curious about From Software's previous games. And maybe they would have an easier time digesting the legacy through Dark Souls 3 than Dark Souls 1, although I do recommend Dark Souls 1 also wholeheartedly. But yeah, this game just marked me like very profoundly. The whole like apocalyptic, gnostic, esoteric type of dark fantasy vibe, end of the world with the possibility of from the ashes something new can begin.
So, one question: like, you've
Yeah.
played aside from Elden Ring, you've played all the FromSoft games.
I've never played Elden Ring. I've played Dark Souls 1, Bloodborne, Sekiro, and Dark Souls 3. I still have Elden Ring to play.
Then between those, what is your favorite? Just out of curiosity.
It depends for what. I love Bloodborne because it's a very aggressive type of combat. Because like when you lose health, you can regain it still in a short amount of time, right? But you have to attack the enemy. It's a lot more dodging and parrying with the guns if you're into that. And it goes like Victorian creepy horror to very Lovecraftian cosmic horror. It's a very special baby. Sekiro is just, I would recommend definitely for people who get overwhelmed with very dense RPG, especially with all the stats and the levels and the this and the that. Sekiro is more straightforward, but it is very demanding in the reflexes department, the reaction department. So that's the only part of the learning curve. Fine. So it depends from player to player, from person to person. But yeah, Dark Souls 3 just has like a very nice mixture of everything that I like from software games. I still haven't tried Elden Ring. Maybe next time we do this video, I will have Elden Ring in this list instead of Dark Souls.
Dude, you will not sleep once you start playing Elden Ring, dude. So much shit to do in that game. Holy shit, man. Yeah, but
I don't know if you have any questions at all, but yeah, that's pretty much what I got to say about the game.
Nice. No, I mean, for me, it's just like I love From Software games, but as you know, like Dark Souls, I can't. I tried. I tried a million times, and
fair enough.
Yeah. I'm like, this is just no. Sekiro, 100% love, fucking love.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like on New Game Plus 9, New Game Plus 10, or something like that, bro. I love that game, but the other ones, yeah. But Elden Ring, you gonna love that shit. Mm-hmm. You gonna love
I know.
It. I know. I'm scared. I
Can't
know.
wait.
All right. Hey, cool.
So, next one.
Back to Paps.
Next one.
Questions? Next one.
Yeah. Moving on to. Remember earlier we talked about Persona and how sometimes you kind of get lost in a game and it replaces an anime that you might be watching or something. Um, Before I show you the next game, I haven't finished it yet. All right, this is very much a Witcher 3 situation where every few every for those who don't know, it took me like 5 years to finish The Witcher, but I would play them in like I would play the game in like increments, right? Play it for a couple of months and then just move on to something else and then go back to it a year later. And I've been doing this with this game so far. Like play a few chapters, leave it, go back to it, and I got very distracted with side stuff, especially.
Of course.
But let's go to it, and that game is
Yakuza.
Yakuza 0. I cannot
Alright.
I cannot emphasize how much I really really like this game. So this is also one of those games where it's open world kind of. It depends on I don't know it's why it's not showing at 60 frames per second, but I've been playing it on I played it on Xbox, and then because it wouldn't translate to PC, I just restarted it on PC. And it's an open world game. It's not GTA. There's no driving. This game is basically a gameplay wise, you can say it's a brawler because it's just, as you can see, a lot of fighting in the streets of Osaka. I think it's Osaka. I'm pretty sure it's Osaka. Yakuza 0 is a part of a franchise that has now what 7 entries? I think maybe 8, 9, right?
Shit ton. I don't know.
Yakuza
I mean,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe. On top of that, there's Kiwami and now Like a Dragon and Infinite
like
Wealth
a
and
dragon and shit.
yeah, etc., etc. So Yakuza 0 is a bit like the Zero is the prequel. So it's a great starting point if you want to get into the Yakuza series. It's set in the 80s, in the heyday of charming Yakuza setting in Japan. And it's basically, you follow the story in this game, which I find really cool, of 2 different characters. One of them is Kiryu, the guy that you're seeing right now. And you go through the game in these are like big neighborhoods, just going around doing quests if you want to. There's a lot of mini games. I spent so much time playing poker, playing the racing cars, playing
Singing
pool, karaoke. It's a lot of fun. And the side quests for me are the most fun part of the game. Don't get me wrong. So the story goes through. Let me see if I can find it here. The story is actually quite interesting, and it follows the journey of these guys and their rise to power, including sometimes the occasional flashback, their backgrounds, and things like that. And you have these what do you call it? More cinematic scenes with really heavy dialogue. It is a mafia movie sometimes, or a mafia series, as you would like to, depending on how you want to look at it. There's, of course, super amazing, what do you call it, settings, and really corny one-liners and things like that. And basically, you're fighting. I mean, you're trying to be trying to clean yourself of a crime you've been falsely accused of. And because of that, you had to leave the family, but now you want back in the family from this guy, Kiryu, who's also the main protagonist of the other Yakuza games. And you have Goro, who's the dude in the patch. As you can see, the dude is missing an eye, who's basically the manager of a cabaret. And then you have to also manage real estate and get people to come work for you. So much like Persona, it is a game that has a mishmash of different genres. I'm not going to say it's the same game, but it does mix a few elements that, to me, weren't just a distraction, but a major attraction while playing the game. What I really, really enjoyed as well, I haven't been to this part of the game yet, but it goes, it swings all the time like a pendulum between very serious, dramatic scenes and set pieces and stories to full on super silly um, fun side quests where you have to rescue help. There's this particular quest that I really liked where basically you're trying to help a kid buy a video game, but then someone stole his video game, and you have to find the guy who stole his game, and then you find the guy and you beat him up, and he says, "Actually, someone stole the game from me," and you do that 3 or 4 times, right? Because every person you find, someone stole the game from them too, up until the point where you find out that the guy who stole the kid's game is actually his dad, who's a petty criminal, who was trying to get the game for his kid, but was trying to steal the game for his kid and get it from his kid. He made his kid unhappy because he was stealing from him. There's another side quest where you have to dismantle Brucera scam, where these girls basically sell their underwear to creeps, and you got to help this girl show her that there's a better way to do things throughout the game. And so there's like these side quests that just keep coming back and forth in the game. They hop in and out, and one of them is, for example, collecting a bunch of calling cards for this pervert who wants to have calling cards of all the pretty girls and escorts who live in the area. The thing you're watching right now is part of the main story, but there's a dude who's a real estate mogul. It has very much a feel, the premise of the game and the way the story evolves, a bit like the first season of Daredevil, if you guys watch that or anyone watches that, where it's, construction, real estate mobsters, invisible, shadowy kingpin figures who, rule everything behind the curtains. And yeah, it's really cool to uncover all that. So I love the mix between serious drama and silly goofing around.
Nice.
It's a good meta sandwich. Good drama, tragedy, but also comedy and just fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is this the only Yakuza game you've played, or you played other ones? Just so I know.
Yes, so I've tried other Yakuza games before where I played a bit, but I was in over my head because I think I tried like Yakuza 6 and Yakuza 5 or something like that. And these games take a long time to finish. Like if you just stick to the story, it's maybe 40 hours. And if you actually just want to play the game and explore the world, which is the, city sim mini games that you can do around, like, let's just say fucking around with the game. In the sense that it's also a game that's very fun to live in, and that's where they do a really good job at that. Some RPGs have that immersive sense, right?
Yeah.
And this one does too. It has that anime attraction to it, where there's different chapters, right? But what you do in between the quests is also a lot of fun. So as you know, like some animes have like this overlong like story from the beginning until the end, and then there's these filler episodes where they go to the beach and they go get some video games and they go to the arcade, and um, this game does that too. And that's what I love about it, and that's why I'm also not in a rush to finish it. It's always installed. But this is by far the Yakuza game that I've played the most and enjoyed the most. Yeah.
Nice.
And it's a great starting point for anybody who wants to get into Yakuza games, I assume, because it is a prequel.
It's basically,
Yeah, but the setting is so good, man. It's the 80s, it's the underworld, it's going through the streets, it's pimps, hookers, petty criminals, and karaoke. Yeah. So I strongly
Nice.
recommend this game to anybody who's into 80 stuff, from Japan who's into anime, who's into semi-open world games, brawlers.
By the way, if you
Yeah.
enjoy that, I'd recommend watching a show called Tokyo Vice. And,
Tokyo
HBO.
Vice. Okay.
With it.
Yeah.
2 seasons.
2
Worth
seasons.
watching.
Tokyo Vice. Okay, cool. We'll look into it for sure. Because yeah, I really enjoy this.
Mhm.
Very nice.
Moving on.
All right. Okay, for my final game, which is one I played this year, basically. I cannot not talk. I mean, there's a lot of games, but this is definitely game of the year for me. Then the game is Animal Well. Animal Well
Oh.
is just it's I don't know if is the thing working.
It's loading for me.
For me, it's still loading as well.
It's still loading for you guys. Hang on, because I'm not sure if this is.
Oh, it says I've been disconnected.
Yeah.
Okay, now you're back.
I can see it
Okay,
now.
we got it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We got it.
Tell us
Okay.
about Animal Well.
Such a
I
special
heard very
game.
good things
So-
about this.
Think about
So this game, wow, just
Wow.
fucking wow, like seriously. I have played my share of side-scroller, Metroidvania, dungeon puzzling games, especially pixelated ones, you know, retro ones, originally retro games,
Mhm.
indie games that are supposed to emulate that. This game just takes it to a whole fucking other level. It looks very simplistic
Mhm.
when you're, you know, seeing it. It looks like your average side-scrolling game. Now, there's a lot of things to like discuss about this game, but to keep it short and sweet. So this is one of those games, which is something I love, where you are dropped into a world, you're dropped into a situation, and you have no tutorials, you have no indication whatsoever of what's going on, you have no indication of what you got to do. You wake up in the middle of one of these screens from a flower bud, and from that moment on, it's like, okay, what the fuck do I do? You know, I don't fucking know. I go left, I go right, I jump, I'm a blob. Okay, that's all I fucking know from this. Now, the game itself, as let's say a main game, as the story itself, the great thing about this game, talking now about the plot, is that it is layered. It's a layered plot, as in you can finish the game in 5 to 10 hours. Let's say the main game, or you call it the first layer of the game. But there would be 2 or 3 more layers to the game that go way beyond the main game. Now, this is where it gets tricky because the game itself, like I said, can be finished within 5 to 10 hours, and it's
Mhm.
still a fantastic game. But I spent about 45 hours on this game,
Wow.
and I will be honest, I was so fucking sad when I did the completionist route on it. Like I tried to uncover everything I could on my own without any fucking help from game guides, without anything. So I went very old school on this, which has been a while. And this game really makes you want to do that. It really engages you to fully discover and immerse yourself. Now, the setting itself is, like I said, you're this bloke, you were dropped into this world, this fantastically decorated world of neon colors and different biomes, sort of. The map is pretty massive. It's divided within six biomes, let's say. Um, although 4 are the prominent biomes, to which you have 4 main bosses. Um, the principle is very basic. It takes from a lot of different games. Old school Metroidvania, the way the map is as you can see here, the way the map is developed and how things are linked to each other. You can sort of access any part of the game, and sometimes you have to backtrack to access different things because there's a lot of different items that you acquire as you progress. The, what was I gonna say? So the objective here is to go through the different biomes and defeat the different bosses, so that you can, to some extent, uncover the mystery that is going on in this well. We consider this isn't a well because we don't know who we are. I still don't know, and I finished the fucking game. But so when you finish the story, then you have a second layer in which you have to collect all the eggs, because that's one of the main things you have in the game is eggs for collecting. And once you get that done, you also acquire. Once that's done, you can get for the true ending of the game, which announces a new boss and a new area. And after that, you got a third layer in the game, which is collecting all the rabbits. Now, what's super interesting about this is that the game is made in such a way that the puzzles are so hard to find. They're not in your face things. They're very, very well hidden everywhere, and you really have to go to every nook and cranny, try different thing, different approaches, look back for where you went, go back, go back, go back. I know for a lot of people the backtracking side of it is not desirable. I found it extremely amazing, and I could not stop dreaming about this game when I went to sleep. I woke up wanting to find more
Really?
about this game. This game was just from beginning to end captivating. I could not stop. I did not want the to stop. And I mean, there was one point in the game where I had to resort to a game guide, because there are two puzzles in this game that you can only solve by actually communicating to other people. There is no multiplayer, there's nothing, but there's specific puzzles that if you don't have outside help, as in if you don't talk to the community, you can't solve them. It's
Interesting.
impossible.
Can you talk to the community
As-
offline, solve the puzzle, and get back, or does it have to be online?
I suppose
No,
that's
it's offline. Like you would go to or to Steam, and people. To be more specific, there's a specific puzzle that you have to solve. That's an image of a rabbit, and everybody that plays the game gets one frame, and you need 50 frames.
What? What? So I feel really bad for the 51st guys who were trying to play that, because there's no way they would have done it.
The only way you can do it on your own is to speed run through the game 50 times.
What
You
the
know?
fuck? That's brilliant. I mean, it's torturous, but it's brilliant.
It's crazy. And the difficulty to uncover, especially the last puzzles, like there's things where you actually need a printer, and at least on the PC version, you need a printer in real life
It-
to acquire a certain thing that you print that gives you certain information about the puzzle. It's very, very out there. It's crazy.
Dude, that's
But
like
anyway,
some games like
That's
old
sick.
school would do that. Like you would have
oh,
to either reset your
what you're
console
seeing
or would have to like plug the controller into the
exactly.
second port and things like that.
Exactly. This that you're seeing right now on the screen, I paused it, is literally that puzzle I was talking about. You see the frames? Like
Yeah,
all
yeah.
those dots? Yeah, basically, when you do a playthrough, you get a segment of it that would be like a 4x4 area or a 3x3 area. So you need about 50
Jesus.
of them to complete the puzzle. It's insane. Like, this was because when I saw this in game and I understood I needed to solve the puzzle, and I saw that I had enough for one area, but I was like, there is no place in this game where there is more. I have went there
You
is no
scoured
place.
everything until you had to
I
find out that it
scoured.
takes other players or a printer to check that out.
I mean, don't get
That's
me wrong. That's
brilliant.
also why it took me as long as it did, and
Mm-hmm.
why I played it so much as I did. But aside from that, what I love about it is that it is a mishmash. A lot of old school games. I mean, for me, the dungeon crawling aspect of it is very reminiscent of the original Legend of Zelda. The way that you're also dropped into situations where you have to uncover secret areas, you have no idea how to
Mm-hmm.
get there. You sort of, it's just touch and go the whole time. It reminds me a lot of, in the aspect again of side scrolling. The platforming is not necessarily easy. It's not hard, but you have to learn to master it to get good at it.
Right.
Um, but this game is just, I again, I couldn't stop dreaming of it. When I stopped playing it, I just wanted to get back into the well. It's just
To the
phenomenal.
well.
It's an experience, and I really really recommend this game to everyone that just wants to get into gaming in general. This gaming is the epitome of what I've played this year. This game is fantastic. I'm sure
Mm.
there's other indie games, like soon there's the indie awards coming out. There's other games that are
Mm-hmm.
nominated and shit, which I've played too. But this game just resonated so fucking much with me. It
Yeah,
just took me
it
back
does seem very
to my
special.
childhood. It,
Okay.
it literally was like playing those old NES games where you're uncovering things. And you know how sometimes you're in a game, most days now we're like, oh, we see a guide. This was a game where I was like, no,
No guy.
no guide, no guide. I do not want the guide. Fuck that shit. So yeah, it's just amazing, and the visuals are great. The storytelling through the visuals is really nice, and yeah, I just could not recommend this more. Like, congrats to Billy Basso who created this game. He's a phenomenal, phenomenal uh, fucking coder and designer. It's just all of it. It's great.
Wait, one guy made this or a team?
It's a studio, but it's pretty much developed all by one guy, Billy Basso. Pretty much
Wow.
all him. I mean, don't get me wrong. In terms of what it is,
Yeah, it was designed by one
programming wise,
person.
it's yeah, but it's just the mind of someone to have all this. Dude, no words. This is my. I'd say that in the last years, this has been one of the highlights for me. It's just fantastic.
Makes
It's
sense.
really
It's
really
very
good.
much your alley.
Yeah, yeah. And that's it. I don't want to waste more time because we still got to jump to Lolo. So
No, it's beautiful, man.
that's it.
It's
Highly recommend
gorgeous.
for this game.
Animal Well.
100%.
Let's go.
Nice.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay. So this time is Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Hey,
Woo!
You got the
we got
That's
it.
it.
Yeah, we
share
got it.
screen. Uh, so yeah, this has replaced my favorite game of all time, which used to be Breath of the Wild. And for me, like Breath of the Wild really is, so to speak, uh, the alpha version before the game is complete. I know that a lot of people in the Zelda game community disagree. There's a lot of Breath of the Wild fans that prefer the first game to the sequel. But
They just
for
hate nuts
me,
and bolts. You know.
probably, but for me, I think a good comparison would be like the jump from Assassin's Creed 1 to 2,
Mm-hmm.
where like the core concept was already good to begin with, but like all the fleshing out and the flourishing that they did with new game mechanics, for example, it's very aerial based now. As you can see, like there's some special bosses that require you to like uh, dive and play with the air. There's some dungeon bosses that you can fight again uh, once you defeat them. There's like an area in the depths where you can find these and pick up materials to fuse your weapons with, because that's
Mm-hmm.
the big thing about this game, is the fusion and the construction and the whole like adventure that has just tripled. You have the surface of Hyrule, you have the Sky Archipelago Islands, you have like the whole subterranean of the depths that kind of mirror the surface. Like a tall mountain in Hyrule will be like a very low chasm in the depths. And also big improvement is all these like mini world bosses, like the Flame Gliok. Remember what it felt like fighting a dragon for the first time in Skyrim back in
Yep.
2011?
Yep.
This is what it feels like in 2023/2024. It's one of the coolest action uh, fantasy dragon fights I have played with. And there's the flame, the lightning, the ice one, and there's the triple one, there's the corrupt one. There's tons of like fun world bosses. So big improvement from the first game is the amount of diversity of adversaries as well.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the story as well, you must have noticed I have like this blue companion, transparent blue companion
Mm-hmm.
with me. And that's like story based. Every time you complete a chapter of the story, you have like these sages that join you and they can basically astral project near you so you can use their abilities. Like this one is wind based, which is useful for gliding and air based fights. Um, and yeah, the story is a lot more in the forefront compared to the previous game. That was also like a big criticism of the previous game, that the game was told in flashbacks. Now the game is much more focused stage front with the story. And it's also, it really utilizes cleverly enough, like the branching out of the story of the open world, right? If you want to complete chapter 4 before chapter 2, you can, type of thing. Like in my case, I explored so much in the beginning that I ended up completing chapter 5 before I even started chapter 1, type of thing.
Right.
Yeah. But like it's fantastic in terms of like adventure scope as well. It's really like the heavens meet the earth. There's points where you can dive from a sky island and then through a chasm, no loading back into the depth. So the exploration is very like Just Cause. It has
Mm-hmm.
that flavor to it for some reason
Flying
with the
around.
new improvements. Yeah, for sure. And the world feels a lot more lived in as well. That was one big criticism of Breath of the Wild. Yes, it was post-apocalyptic, but every biome felt very contained. Here, you feel that the biomes actually stretch out and like move and stuff because of the side quests. There's not just one type of side quest. There's like several categories of side quests based on like Lookout Landing or like the different region communities of the different peoples and stuff like that. So the world feels a lot more lived in. And you can even join fights as well, like militias that are fighting hordes of enemies. Here, this is one of the most fantastic, like I think, sequences of the game is just like these dragons that are part of the cosmos and nature of the universe of the world. And this is a new dragon specific for this game. It's the Light Dragon, where the Master Sword is situated on its forehead. The game lets you know after a certain point that you can collect the Master Sword from there. But if you don't have enough stamina, you're not able to pick up the sword, Excalibur style, right? So it incentivizes you to level up, grow up, do more shrines, pick up more orbs, so you can like increase your stamina and hearts. By doing that, you'll fight tougher enemies. By fighting tougher enemies, you collect better materials. By collecting better materials, you create better fusions. By creating better fusions, and then you are in that loop that is very like Monster Hunter type of like reminiscent,
Sure.
right? And you have the construction. So you can commit it to memory from blueprints you find in the world, or you can create yourself and then manually commit it to memory as well. And this just goes to show that technology is the greatest equalizer of them all.
Lovely.
And it really like plays very well with a certain subgenre that has become very popular lately, which is like the mix and mash of fantasy with sci-fi, right?
Mm-hmm.
The sci-fi here is ancient technology, right? So, ooh, it's epic because it's ancient technology. But it's a type of flavor hybrid fantasy sci-fi that I quite enjoy. This area is quite special as well. There's like these little blue particles you can faintly see. This means it's a low gravity. So like everything is slowed down, your descent is slowed down, your jumps are higher and longer and stuff like that. And yeah, the sunsets and sunrise in these games are beautiful. This is one of the main dungeons, and I only decided to leave this little bit of footage because it's not very revealing, because dungeons do come back in this game. It's not like kind of limited and one flavor like in Breath of the Wild. Like every dungeon has its theme. There's one in the desert, there's one beneath a volcano, there's one in a high storm high above the clouds, etc., etc. The depths is, yeah, you can use these blight blooms to light up the way. And it's very eerie, like it reminds me of, have you guys ever seen one of the first Ghibli movies called Nazca,
Yeah, the
Valley of the Wind? It reminds me a lot of like the subterranean area from that movie as well. Like there's a lot of spore and fungi, and you feel like it really is like this meeting point of decay and growth at the same time.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. And here, yeah, there's some Yiga bases. They're basically the Team Rocket, but ninja-like. So like the rivals of the Yiga clan. They have like technologies that you can raid their bases and get blueprints from. You attach ice element to a boomerang and you throw the boomerang into the water. It creates platforms. Like the level of like dynamic responses in terms of like chemistry in this game and how you interact with the world and how the world responds to you is so like joy-like. It's like
How can?
huh?
Sorry. Keep going. I'll save it.
Yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I can add stuff at any point. So feel free to ask the question.
How can the Switch run this?
Right. Surprisingly,
And
like
very low quality.
this is one of my favorite handheld games of all time because it's just like, how is it even possible that we are witnessing this in our lifetime?
But the frame
It's
rate
my
drops have to
favorite
be crazy sometimes,
handheld.
no?
Yes,
In
yes,
some
yes.
sections.
There's some issues where it gets as low as 15 or 20 frame rates,
Okay.
but I think all things considered, it is uh, an issue I am willing to accept,
Compromising.
considering compromising,
Mm-hmm.
considering everything you get here. Like this very Dune-ish fight with the Molduga, which is not even a boss. It's just like an environmental mini boss. Like I said, there's a lot more of these. This one already was in Breath of the Wild, but you have a lot more
Mm-hmm.
like these that really take advantage of the geolocation to flavor like their nature and what they can do and the threats
All
they
right.
are. And yeah, fusion, so attach rockets to the shield so you can escape very fast. And yeah, by the end of the game, you already know where to you place your things in the quick menu, and the way you are able to express with Link through like the action gameplay is so much more immediate and fluid. And yeah, you definitely feel growth by the end of your playthrough. Not only visually, because you can tell with the gear you've collected and how you are able to make the most out of it, of the resources, like the system of this game.
I want to ask you something.
Like this, yeah.
Say I'm gonna get a Switch 2. Can I skip Breath of the Wild and go straight to this? Is that something you
Absolutely. I
advise?
know a lot of fans are not gonna like what I'm gonna say,
But yes,
but I will say skip Breath of the Wild and try out Tears of the Kingdom, because not only is it much more like complete, it's also a very, very long game. So if you are gonna sink into like a long time commitment, I would say Tears of the Kingdom instead of Breath of the Wild, if you had to choose one.
I only said Switch 2
No,
because I'm not picky or anything. It's just that I've witnessed if there are frame rate drops and everything, and if they have some upscaling type of or just a faster processor and a better graphics card, maybe it can make the game look better, not just on handheld but also docked.
Yeah,
right?
hopefully, yeah.
If you have a really nice TV, like playing this 4K
I hope they are
must be
thinking of doing
unbelievable,
that. Yeah.
right?
That
If you
would
can
be good
play
for
Tears
them,
of the
for
Kingdom
sure.
in 4K, because I wonder if this is a hardware question. I don't know if you know this or not. When you play docked, does the dock actually help with the processing or not really?
I don't know that part.
Okay.
I should,
doesn't.
but I have played this game handheld all the time.
Okay.
That is my preferred way to play the Switch, and why I'm very sad right now, because the battery of my Switch went kaput after 7 years, and I have to send to repairs. But yeah, I guess it's this bittersweet memory that it's one of, if not one of my very favorite games I've ever experienced so far. Video game.
Okay. We did
Live.
save the best for last.
Yeah.
And for the viewers, before we wrap this up, how many hours do you have in Tears of the Kingdom?
I can check right now if I go to the Switch.
And every minute is worth it, apparently.
2,400.
It's over 9,000!
315 hours. 315 hours, one
315
playthrough.
hours. One.
But you had more. You
Good
had more in
Lord.
Breath of the Wild.
Because I had 3 playthroughs. 600 hours.
Jesus.
Right. Let's ask you again in a couple of years then, after you get the Switch 2, and play it docked on a 4K TV. Wow. This game is super impressive. I will say.
Absolutely.
It's very special.
Yeah. I don't have a
It's,
Switch, but
my highest recommendation for the Switch, no doubt.
yeah.
Like, I was very mad at the $70 price, and I think this is going to be the first and the last game I'm going to buy at $70. But if you are going to make that spending, it's worth it for this game.
So I have
It
to buy a
delivers.
Switch 2. Basically, I gotta pay
I hope that will be the better
470.
situation for you. Yeah.
470
So maybe
bucks
wait out a little,
play
see
this.
what happens. See if actually the Switch 2 version runs better and looks nicer as well. But yeah, if you ever get the chance, like, you're gonna have an awesome time. Wonderful game.
All right, fantastic.
I guess that's
Any closing thoughts, Monsieur Jacques?
Closing thoughts.
Yeah.
About what? About what, son? No. I think we. There could be a lot of. Thing is, it's already been an hour and a half, and we need to wrap this up. But because I do think that there's a lot of honorable mentions we could give as well.
Yeah,
for
for
these
sure.
last 3 years, there's shit tons of them.
There's more. We'll do this again.
Yeah, but I do feel like we had a pretty nice couple of listages here. I kind of wish that I knew it was any. Well, I just misunderstood, but I could have gone for something different if I knew it was any game. You know?
Yeah.
Although I have played like Animal Well, fantastic game, and it came out this year. I have played fantastic games that came out recently, but of course there's games that are just timeless that you can play whenever. So yeah, but yeah, nothing else to add really. I think did pretty good podcast job, so to say.
Cool. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, these were our recommendations. 343 with Loplo, Papu, and the Jack Reinhardt. And
Yeah, sorry for the technical issues there.
no worries. We manage. As long as the
We're
audio
always
came
like
through,
that.
should be all right. All right. Mesdames et messieurs, take care. Mwah. See you soon for another one of these, and we're gonna keep streaming. Bye bye.
See you, everyone. Bye.